The story still scares me away from online dating, yet alone meeting people online. When I was 16, I was a real shy kid. I was never the type to go up to girls and ask for their number. As normal as it is for guys to do, I always felt weird. I hated rejection. I resorted to online dating. I joined this site named Tagged, a site that some of my friends told me they used. I was immediately hooked when I started using it. It reminded me a lot about MySpace since the layout was almost the same, just changed to a dating site. I made my profile and uploaded only the best pics of me. However, my first night on Tagged, I didn't get not one reply. I figured I was probably just ugly, or maybe girls didn't want to talk to me because I was only 16. Who the hell would want to date someone this young anyways if they had such a wide range of guys to choose from? Older guys who could buy them drinks and stuff. I figured most females my age would lie anyways. I changed my age to 21 and put up better pictures of myself, even shirtless photos. Out of nowhere, I got this message from this hot chick. Her name was Serena H. I couldn't even see her last name. She was some hot white chick with this incredible smile, with the whitest teeth you could ever see. Her message said, "Hey, you're pretty hot. We should talk." I was stoked. She was 20 years old and looked like she could have been a Playboy model. I wasn't good at talking to girls, so I asked my brother for advice. Usually my brother was an asshole when it came to talking to women, so he just told me to tell her I want to fuck. I immediately ran to the smarter thing in my life, Google. After searching advice on how to talk to women, I started reading her profile and asked her about her hobbies. Her hobbies included volleyball, painting, and watching horror flicks. I told her how much I loved volleyball and that we should play sometime. After a couple of days of back and forth messaging, me and Serena began to feel much more than text going around. We then decided it was time to hear our voices. I was nervous as hell since most of the things I messaged her was straight off Google. I started dialing the number and my gut felt heavy. Someone that answered with the weirdest high-pitched voice I ever heard in my life. "Hello, is this Tim?" I felt weird about the way her voice sounded. "Yes, this is Tim. Is this Serena?" "Oh, hey, Tim. Oh my God, you're so hot. When are we going to meet?" Right after that, I heard this loud cough. So loud I couldn't even tell it was a woman. I was a horny teenager with no common sense, so all these signs didn't really give me any red flags. She started telling me I should come over her house and I should even sleep over. She was only 10 blocks away from my house. This would be the first time I met someone on an online dating website. Shit, I was barely new to it. I thought I had to be doing something right if a chick messaged me and I didn't get any replies my first day. But when I think about it, it's pretty odd. The chick gave me her address and told me to call her before I got close to make sure she was ready. I didn't want to tell my brother since I knew he was going to be an asshole and tell me dumb things. He's such a fucking stoner and a loser. I was still a virgin at this time and I decided I needed to buy condoms and buy it quick. I also should practice putting one on too, but shit, if I take too long, I may blow my chance. I was walking down the street to her house in a pace you will only see military people walk in. I had this smile like I knew I was about to get some. Serena was in my head the whole time on the way. I had already got to her door and began to knock. A thought ran to my head. Fuck, I should have called her. "Who is it?" A deep man's voice answered. My heart dropped. Maybe she lived with her parents. I asked, "Is Serena there?" I heard nothing but silence. He said, "Oh yeah, let me go get her. Give me 5 minutes." I was already paranoid about this, but then again, when you're a horny teenager, you don't give a damn about nothing else but you know what. I called Serena's phone and the phone kept ringing and ringing. The door opened and it was some buff guy in a princess dress with long hair and red lipstick. "Come in." I screamed so damn loud when I saw this. I could immediately tell it was a cross-dresser. The guy had hair all over his face. I ran all the way home. The guy came to his porch as I looked back screaming, "You little dick bastard!" When I got home, I went on my Tagged and I saw the guy had sent 10 messages. One said he knew where I lived and that I better watch myself and my asshole. I was scared for my life. Until this day, I haven't seen this guy or Serena since. I met him on Match, which I joined his attempt to tiptoe back into dating after a very painful divorce. He sent me a message saying my profile was intriguing and he would love the shot at meeting me. I looked over his profile and quickly deducted that we weren't a match. He had written a long, massive paragraph about his passion for football and annoyance with women who didn't understand. At that time, I hated football, and he claimed to be a devoted Christian and a staunch conservative. I am neither of these and don't enjoy hearing much about him either. I politely declined his request for a meeting, and this only seemed to egg him on. I'd say, I don't meet any of your criteria, to which he'd reply, maybe you're worth opening my mind a bit. We went back and forth for a week or two with me insisting we weren't right for each other. He would just keep playfully arguing that I was too interesting for him to let me get away. He'd said he'd become accustomed to women throwing themselves at him. Apparently he's some sort of successful business owner and semi-pro ball player. He found my reluctance sexy and endearing. I'll admit, I was flattered by his persistence and impressed by his confidence, so I finally agreed to meet at a restaurant for dinner. He was decent looking. Although a big hoss of a fellow, he came across as intelligent, witty, and confident in person. He said he was recently divorced and had a 3-year-old daughter. He seemed nice enough, but I wasn't really feeling the spark. And after a couple hours, I began to find his self-assurance somewhat obnoxious. For reasons I still don't understand, I agreed to join him for ice cream after our meal and accepted his offer to drive. We lived near the coast and somehow he talked me into pulling into a parking lot near a public beach to chat and finish our ice cream. Although I didn't really think it would work out, I let him kiss me. What can I say? It had been a while. And when it got a little too hot and heavy, I stopped it and said I was ready to head back to my car. He started whining and begging me for sex, saying I couldn't just leave him turned on like that. At first I laughed it off, but he grew increasingly desperate, telling me he was about to explode. Can't you just suck it or at least give me a hand job? No, I said. I think it's time to go now. He got all frustrated and annoyed, like he was offended that I'd be willing to kiss but unwilling to fuck. I started to get pretty nervous. Then he whipped it out of his pants and proceeded to masturbate, right there in the driver's seat. I was too relieved that this massive dude hadn't tried to rape me to feel scared, and I had forced myself to look away. Trapped in a combination of absolute horror and fascination, he sat there stroking away enthusiastically, moaning about how good it felt, while I pressed myself against the passenger door, trying to stay as far away as possible and looking away. I started looking around for potential help in case things got worse. He was almost finished and he said in a breathless voice, "Where do you want me to put it?" When I didn't respond, he continued, "Where should I come? Can I put it on your tits or can you at least give me your hand?" I ignored him, so he let it loose all over the steering wheel of his truck. "Oh my God, I am so embarrassed," he said. "I can't believe I just did that, but you are so sexy I couldn't help it." He casually asked me to pass him a napkin from the glove box so he could clean the mess. I probably should have just ran away, but the empty beach at night seemed more dangerous than his now spent perv, so I let him take me back to my car. He acted like nothing strange had happened and told me he had a great time. As soon as I saw my car, I ran without even looking back and went home and showered. He actually sent me another message saying, could he have another shot? I disabled my Match account and basically disappeared from the cyber universe for months. Technically, I think it probably qualified as some sort of sexual assault, but after telling the story of the master dater to my friends over and over, I had laughed too much to feel traumatized. A few months later, I was eating pancakes at IHOP with my new boyfriend, now husband, and spotted the master dating eating with a woman and a 3-year-old little girl. Both of them were wearing wedding rings, and from the look of a panic on his face when we briefly made eye contact, I feel pretty sure that he was married the entire time we corresponded. After what I let him get away with, I was very tempted to go over and ask him if he whacked off on any first dates lately. If only the kid hadn't been there. Before I tell my story, let me give you a brief introduction about me. I am a divorced woman with no kids and trying to lead a normal life working as a techie like many people here and have a few good friends to hang out with. My life is not all that easy and there are many rough times I go through, but yes, I try to keep my head up and keep selling. I wish I would find a man that I like and that likes me and I could settle down someday. It's not easy living alone. I have my profile on a few matrimonial sites, and one site is bahatmatrimony.com. One day in September, I received an email from a man living in New York. His profile read he was a doctor, divorced with no kids, and he was a year older than me. This is what he had written to me in his initial email. His profile read as follows: "It has been over 5 years since I have been divorced after a short marriage that was arranged. Since then, I have grown and learnt from life, and now again quite ready to take this part of my life and want to settle down. This time I'm sure I want to make it work for a lifetime. My family is in India, where I was brought up. I have been in the US for 11 years now, and now I'm neutralized. As a cardiologist in practice, there's not too much free time available to me. However, I make the most of what I have from traveling and enjoying New York City. I would be interested in meeting and getting to know a mature Indian woman that would not mind moving to the New York, New Jersey area." His name on the profile was Sunil. He wrote to me saying that he really liked my profile and he was a doctor and such, and he thought I could be a good match for him as we had similar backgrounds. I was really thrilled with his profile, as he was slightly older than me, was divorced and was from the same city. I'm a South Indian and a decent professional. In his first mail, he admitted he was the cause of this marriage breakup, as he was spending way too much time on his fellowship and research back then, and now he has realized how important it was to spend time with your partner. I really appreciated his honesty, that he was taking so much responsibility for his marriage breakup, even without abusing his ex or being bitter. So I wrote back to him and he gave me his cell phone number to call. I did not call him immediately as I had work pressures that weekend and just added him onto my chat ID. He came on chat a few times and asked me for my phone number and kept saying he would call. He never called every time he said he would call. This seemed strange, but I attributed it to his work pressure and other priorities, but he told me on chat, "I want to get married soon and I want to move real fast." He also mentioned he did not see the point of talking over the phone, but would rather meet in person soon. I was glad to know he was so keen on meeting and taking things forward, and was so committed to being married as I was committed to being married soon too. He told me his name was Dr. Sunil Menon. I promptly Googled and figured out there was a Dr. Sunil Menon practicing in Connecticut. You can look up his information. He told me he was a cardiologist in practice, and is in practice with 2 other doctors and admits patients to different hospitals and visit them. He even gave me the names of the hospitals he goes to in New York. Then he called after 4 to 5 days and chatted with me only for a few minutes. Very basic stuff. How tall I was, if I was okay with relocating, and asked me if I was free next Thursday to meet him and he would be flying down to my area. I found it a little strange that someone after one single conversation was flying down from the East Coast to meet me. I was confused. I tried telling him that we should talk a little more and he brushed it off with, "What are phone conversations going to tell you about a person? Besides, I'm the one flying anyways." I told him to email me his itinerary a few times but got none. When I asked him once or twice about it, he told me he had told his secretary that she would email it and he was too busy. We were supposed to meet the morning of Thursday for breakfast and spend 4 to 5 hours, as he was going to go back the same day. He was to arrive in town on Wednesday late at night. He said he would be in about 11 p.m. He actually ended up getting there 9 p.m. as I got a call from his cell. He told me he had arrived early and was in a DoubleTree and I should drive over to meet him. I live reasonably far away from this place, so I refused to drive over so late at night. He convinced me a little, saying things like I can stay with him. That scared me even more, and I refused to go that late. So I told him we decided to only meet for breakfast, and I would meet him early the next morning. I woke up the next morning and called him after I was ready at 6:30 a.m. His cell phone was ringing all the time and he never picked it up. I called a few times. I thought he was probably sleeping. Then I started driving and drove over to the hotel and asked the lady at the desk, "I'm looking to meet this person who has checked into your hotel. His name is Sunil Menon." The lady said nobody by the name was checked in. Weird. I kept telling her to check again, and all she could say is no guest was there by that name. I waited around for about 2 hours wondering what happened and returned almost in tears after wasting more than half a day. After that incident, it left me wondering what was wrong and why a doctor would do something like this. He never called me back after that. I waited for a week to hear back from him. Then my curiosity got the better of me. So I called him back after a week and he told me he was there at the hotel that night. He left because I did not show up, and he was really disillusioned that I was not as excited as he was about the whole thing, and my interest level was too low. He even told me he had checked in and checked out in the name of his secretary. After he gave me her name, I called the hotel and confirmed that he did use her name. He also told me, "Listen, I told you a dozen times that my secretary makes the bookings." I thought it was bizarre. Then I did some research into this guy. After a lot of searching, I found out that this man was no Dr. Sunil Menon. He was impersonating him. He is a doctor from India and works here in a pharmaceutical company as a sales rep and hence travels a lot. He tries to pick up women on his trips for sex. I even figured he was married or separated with 2 kids, and he is not even Hindu to begin with. The photo he sent me was fake. The home address and the office address were also fake. All I had from him was his cell phone number and an email ID. The information about his family in India and where they lived was also fake. It was like a Maury show. I have not met this man, and I'm really glad I did not get raped or worse, killed by some psycho. I called the police about this, and they did tell me to alert Dr. Sunil Menon. I have spoken to a few people in AAPI and even talked to an attorney. When I had all the facts, I confronted him with it and told him I was going to file a lawsuit. He promptly changed his cell phone number and deleted his profile from the site. The same guy has another profile on the site now, and I don't know what new stories he is spinning to women around. I want this story to be heard so women were more aware of what type of cycles are out there on these online dating websites. I hope you're not going to become a victim of a fake profile.